spend 5 minutes with yourself and your thoughts and think about like what is the thing that drives me? What is the thing that you care about? And like go Google that thing. There's probably an organization really close to you that's doing the work and needs help, and you get sucked in really quick. And it can be 2 hours a week. All right, guys, I think we're ready to get started. Thanks, you guys, for coming out on this beautiful Tuesday night. It's good to see you. Round of applause for getting off the couch. Hey, that's the first step. We did it. That's half the battle. Welcome to One Quick Thing podcast. My name is Marissa. I'm here with my co-host. We've already got a man down, and that's a sign of a good night, friends. It's going to be good.
I'm Emily. I use she, her pronouns, and we're so excited to have you here. If you have seen any of the past episodes, you know that we talk to a lot of organizations about ways that we can support them, and we really wanted to bring it back to our roots of finding ways for everybody here and anybody out there listening to connect with their community. And we have heard so many stories. Every time we're here from somebody who is inspired to connect in some way. And they all vary so much. I feel like there isn't a ton of overlap, and there are things that, seem so simple, and some things that you would never even think of that are really easy to implement into your life. And so I'm really excited to hear from so many incredible people tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a really fun lineup. We've got like 10-ish people here that are going to come up and share with us a little bit about their own journey in activism and what kind of work that they do, whether big or small. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're really excited about is like, there's a lot of baby steps into this work. Doing these types of things can feel really overwhelming. And a lot of times, if you're hearing from somebody who's maybe been doing it forever, there's a little bit of like fear or imposter syndrome. And everyone who is going to come up here today has some really awesome insights to share. And we're really excited to have them. Should we get started?
Yeah. We would like to first have Andrea Martin from Give and Gather.
If you want to give her a round of applause, everybody. Let's do it. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you both.
We met Andrea through this event, right?
Yes.
And so I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing to connect with the community.
Awesome. About a little over a year ago, when I was really disaffected, was trying to think of what I could do because everything was breaking and everyone was feeling fearful and isolated and scared. Many conversations I had were like that, and I'm a social worker. And I do DEI work, so we were having many conversations about what next steps look like. And one thing that I kept coming back to was like how to show up for people, how to show them that communities really do have their backs, whether they have, different socioeconomic backgrounds, diverse identities. And how to do that kept coming up in ways that I couldn't ignore, because I will tell you, I created an event series called Give and Gather, and before starting this, hated event planning. So talk about taking baby steps. The one really nice thing was that people kept saying oh, that's a great idea. You have an idea. How can I help support it? And a big piece was Jonas from Shiloh Farm was well, you can have one here. And I was well, I guess I can't say no to starting this thing. So created an event that's free and accessible, and it's all around how to show up for one another with mutual reciprocity in mind. So I do it's a potluck, so that people are literally bringing food or creating food and breaking bread with one another, and giving one another nourishment. And doing that in a way that feels like we invite you to show up for your community. So they're held in beautiful spaces like outdoor farms like Shiloh Farm, or we had one here at Auspicious Brew, and where when you walk in, your system starts to automatically re-regulate because you're in a beautiful space. In a place that's really being held. We always have community art as a piece of it, because we know that we don't oftentimes get to art, but art is so healing for our health, our mental health, And I'm a part of this Sea Change conference for 4 years, and if you don't know what that is, we can maybe link it. But that is incorporating how art can be show up for BIPOC communities and how central it is. So these events got started, and then they grew into how can we all show up for the community in other ways. Like I said, let's do co-working space at Breakaway Cafe, totally free. Just ask Breakaway Cafe if we could reserve a table from 12 to 3 every first and third Wednesday, and we did it. So totally free, not a big lift. And created another 90-minute session called Peer Power Hour, where we're working on ideas or challenges with World Cafe style for 90 minutes for people. We just had one that was designed around arts and doing more art projects, and then another one that was a hike and forest bathing in nature. Being in partnership with different people in the community, and then really being so grateful to the support of the community for all that they had to offer, because these events have not taken much because the community has given so much.
I want to ask a follow-up question on that part specifically, because something I admire about your work from everything I've seen of you of the last year, which you're incredibly, the work that you're doing is amazing. The events that you're putting on are incredible. You talked about mutual reciprocity. I think something I admire about you specifically is how you are a connector, and you find opportunities to work together in a way that's beneficial for both parties. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And has that surprised you how much people are yeah, I'm down, let's do this together?
Yes and no, it surprised me. I think we forget how resourced we are, and that was a big piece of this event series to begin with, was this central concept that's in my events is I always have 2 boards up. One board says, what do you need in this moment to take a breath? And it's literally asking the community, do you need your taxes done? Do you need somebody to walk your dog? Do you need a ride somewhere? Do you need to just meet up with someone and grab a cup of coffee? What is it in you to take some weight off your shoulders? Because there's so much going on that we can't control. So how can somebody in the community show up? So, and then that person puts their info and contact, name and contact info. And then another board that says, and what do you want to offer to the community right now that you can? And people have put everything from Reiki, massage, singing lessons to working on somebody's budget for them, strategic planning, whatever people are super excited to lean into their skills or their time, showing that the individuals really can support the community when so many of our systems are failing. So that's a huge piece of the events themselves. And then on the partnership level, working with Auspicious Brew, them offering the space when they have a night that they're not typically open, so that it doesn't cost them something, but then it provides us with a free space to get together. We're bringing potluck. We paid them a little bit for a little bit of food. And then they get to show so many more people their gorgeous place and all they have to offer here. So it is so beneficial for all parties involved. And we just did the art event with We Are Brainstorm, Brianna and her husband, who are located here in Dover. And again, she wanted to do this art event. She had it in mind. And to be able to collaborate and work together makes the lift so much easier. I mean, we know that saying, right? Many hands make work. It's really been happening over and over. And now we created a newsletter where if you have an event, if you have something going on, we share that out to the community, because people know now that that's where they can find how to get plugged in and connected. So
I absolutely love what you said about the board where someone says what they want to contribute to the community. And I think you're such a connector, and you really help people sort of get in touch with what they're looking for. And I'm wondering if you have any piece of advice for anybody listening for how they could get involved if they haven't started yet.
I'm honestly a huge proponent, just start something. It literally can be going to a library, using a room at the library, or going to a coffee shop and saying we're going to come together and we're going to all write letters to kids who are incarcerated right now, in Texas. Whatever you have, whatever ideas are percolating, don't sit on that. Now is the time. And I think there's so many entry points, and I'm happy to be the end. like, I'm happy Give and Gather can be the entry point. Our next art event, somebody's like, hey, I wanted to test out this art class, but I wasn't sure if it would resonate with people, so can we collaborate on your next art night? And I can show up and do it there. And we're like, yeah, that sounds great. So like, and that whole mutually beneficial thing, it keeps working. So find the people who you can connect with, and there is so much. All you have to do is like look around and again, show up at a park and have a pizza party. Like, it doesn't take much to show up for community.
Absolutely. I love this idea. This, again, you bring up mutual reciprocity, and it feels, the work we do feels like there's a lot of overlap too. Even like we think about this space as being a good space for if somebody's like, I want to do something, I don't know how to get involved. This is like a baby step. Like, we're not going to put you on the spot. I'm not pulling anyone out of the audience to talk on the mic, except for Scott. But nobody else. Everybody else volunteered. But all that to say, like, definitely, if I recommend if you're in this room and you're looking to get to know more people in this community, like physical space around you, go to a Give and Gather event. Can you give us a little plug for what you've got coming up next?
Sure. We do have an art night coming up on June 17th. I think that's a Wednesday. And then the annual event at Shiloh Farm is going to be on June 28th from like 4 to 8 in the evening or 5 to 8 in the evening. Those will be coming out in the newsletter. We're on Instagram. That's the only social media I can contemplate working with. So it's give_and_gather on Instagram. But if you go through there, you can sign up for our newsletter and find out everything that's going on in the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
Can
you,
you guys give
Andrea.
Andrea a round of applause? Thank you so much. No. Okay. So I'm going to actually, we told people that they could submit ahead of time if they wanted to share their thoughts, but couldn't make it with us in person. So do you want to read well, or you want me to read well?
You can read well.
All right, I'll do a quick, so this is from Will Hurley. And so I'm going to read, this is just pretty quick, but I'm going to read it for you guys because I think it's really interesting. So Will says, I decided to run for state rep. In doing so, I began going to local Democratic committee meetings, and honestly, just going to those meetings has made me feel connected to my community. Plus, it has given me so much hope in humanity. There are other people participating in that change. I got so lost doom scrolling and reading headlines that I felt a lack of agency or control over my life. Running for office and actively participating has given me back some control, and I feel stable for the first time in a long time. Thank you for amplifying the voices of New Hampshire and that are making a difference. So Will Hurley's running. He didn't mention, he didn't specify in here which district he's running for. Oh. We'll do a little shout out on Instagram stories later, so Will can, you guys can follow him if you're in his district. Also, if someone wants to Google it for me, someone type Will Hurley and see what district so I can give him a shout out. But anyway, thanks to Will for signing in. He is at a t-ball game for his kid, so he can't be here. But yeah, you want to pull up our next guest?
Yes, we have Joanne Casey, an artist, poet, and activist.
Woo!
Let's give a round of applause for Joanne.
Stratford District 12.
Will Hurley is in
you.
Stratford District 12. Thank you, Aria.
There you go. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Nice.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's an honor. We would love to hear how you are connecting with the community.
Well, first, who is my community?
Who is your community?
Tell us.
Is my community the trans community? Is
think
it the queer community? Where does it go?
Yes, I think we can say the trans community, the queer community, how you are contributing and connecting with that community as well as your local, actual, physical community.
Let's take it to a different place.
Let's do it.
How about if my community is, and I'm no stranger to this stage, by the way, because I show up monthly for the open mic poetry.
Ooh.
And I go by the stage name of the famous Joanne from Hampton. And like a lot of poets, I've been writing for a long, long time, but I would write something and I might show it to one or two different people, and then I'd put it away and move on. And it probably would have stayed that way except for Uvalde. when Uvalde hit, I snapped. And you might say, well, why Uvalde and why not Sandy Hook? Equally horrific, but years apart. Why did it take me that long to become an activist, to stand up? And that would be a fair question. That would be a very valid question. And I tried to think of it as when Sandy Hook happened, I was still able to make the mental gymnastics that allowed me to land in the spot where I could say, there's nothing I can do. And then it happened again. And I did the gymnastics and there was nothing I could do. And then it happened again. And I did front flips this time to there was nothing I could do. And then it happens again and I do a triple axel to land in that spot where I could say to myself, there's nothing I can do. And then Uvalde hit and I couldn't do the gymnastics anymore. It was so horrible. And I remember watching an interview, I think it was with some congressman, and during the interview, as it was going on, saying, he's going to say guns don't kill people. He's going to say guns don't kill people. He's going to say guns don't kill people, and I am going to explode. And yes, he did say guns don't kill people, and and the empty cup went at the television set, and the cats ran out of the room real quick. And it was at that point that I could not be silent anymore, and I was just haunted by Uvalde and the phrase, all the guns in the world, just stuck with me and followed me all around. And after I wrote a poem about it, it's very cathartic writing poetry, if anybody does it here. And I showed it to some people, but it was, I had to take it out. I had to be that person that says, no more. Children are dying and we're not doing anything about it. That's not right. And so I looked around to try to find stages that would allow me to come up and speak, like we're doing right here. And I'm violently anti-gun, if you could be that way. And I just refuse to accept that there is nothing I can do. I am a poet. I will use my voice, and that is my aim here. And so I had to look around, and probably for a lot of you out there, it's a time question. I was working second shift. Try to get out into the world when you're working second shift. Very difficult. There was one spot I could go to, and that was the Nashua Public Library. They had a poetry night. I went down there. All the Guns in the World was the first poem that I did down there. And it just grew from there. For about 2 years, I was going every Tuesday night to public library in Nashua. And then, yay, Auspicious opened up a poetry night. And I didn't have to drive an hour down and an hour back. So yes, I've been coming here, and the first poem I did on this stage was All the Guns in the World. And it's, you can't just let them keep you silent. And I refuse to let them keep me silent, and I will march on. And from that, I got involved with the Poetry Society of New Hampshire to try to get more spots to go to. And I'm retired now, so I can go to all these other spots to go to. And through that, I hooked up with many other places, 603 Equality, was it Repro Fund or whatever, and volunteered with them. And I also got hooked up with ACLU-NH. And with ACLU-NH, the Seacoast Regional Manager, Catherine Haraki, wanted to do a protest poetry project. And she asked me and Shane, who's also involved with Auspicious Poetry, to help her edit the anthology. And the response to the protest poetry anthology was tremendous. We had over 100 poems submitted. Not a one of them said, "Yay, Trump." I don't know why that happened. But over 50 poets, over 100 poems. And we have just released the protest poetry. About 2 weeks ago, we've had a public reading of some of the poems in this. And tonight, as a matter of fact, up at Gibson's, Protest Poetry Part 2 is taking place. And working with the ACLU-NH, they want to take it into the North Country, red meat territory. That'll be fun. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but you just can't let them kill kids and say, "There's nothing I can do." There is. You can say, "This is madness. Stop the madness."
I really appreciate what you said, Joanne, about how you describe, you're obviously a poet. The way you describe mental gymnastics and that whole, I think we all kind of went on that journey with you of, or a lot of us, of that process of trying to rationalize to ourselves, it's okay that I'm just sitting on the couch. There's nothing I can do anyway. But I think that your expression through poetry is such an important reminder. Emily and I are such big advocates for the arts and how the resistance in these forms is so powerful. What kind of response have you seen from people to the work you're doing, and where can they find it? Where can people find that work?
Well, hopefully this will be in more bookstores. Like I said, it's in Gibson's tonight, and hopefully it will be there in other bookstores, we hope. We also want to put it into libraries, get it out there. And like I said, the response has been fantastic. A lot of people feel this way. And it's not just guns, which is what really ticks me off, but so many other things that you can see in the front. It says reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus rights, voting rights, immigrants' rights, racial justice, free speech. It's all in here.
I want one of those.
And this is all your neighbors speaking out and speaking up, and it's your turn next.
I think this is so powerful. Where can people find you and find more of your poetry? Where would you recommend people go if they want to express themselves in this format as well?
For the time being, I am at psnh.org. When you send an email to info.org, info@psnh.org, it comes to me. I handle all of that. I'm a board member there. I'm also here at Auspicious every month for their open mic poetry night. And pretty much anywhere there's an open mic, I won't shut up about things.
And we love that. Thank you so much. Any last words you want to say before we hand off to the next? I appreciate you being here, Joanne. Thank you.
No, just like I said, don't wait. That is my one great regret, is that why did I wait so long? Why? Kids are dying. They shouldn't be dying. Don't be me. Be better than me.
Thank you so
much, Joanne.
Round of applause for Joanne, guys. Thank you so much. Just a step right
Thank you, Joanne. We now have Emma Lynch.
there. Woo! Woo!
Emma is a very special part of the One Quick Thing family as partner to Pat Lynch. But Emma is also doing some really incredible things, and I would love for her to share them. So can you tell them a little bit about what you're doing to support the community?
Thank you. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit today was actually inspired by this podcast. And I recently joined a board for Postpartum Support International, the New Hampshire chapter. and very recently became their treasurer. So now I'm serving as the treasurer there. But when I say I was inspired by this podcast specifically, what I mean is you and your guests speak about sort of finding your niche and your passion in the community. And I am imposter syndrome all the way in all walks of life. And I thought, I'm not an activist, right? I've never been an activist. That's not something I think I would identify as. And then I realized, but I could be. And I have sort of a passion and interest in these areas. And in particular, postpartum depression is something I have lived experience with. And I wanted to get involved, but I thought, I'm not a clinician. I'm not a psychiatrist. Like, I don't have the subject matter expertise. And turns out that you don't need it, right? Nonprofits, boards, they are often in need of people with a variety of different skills. And I'm really grateful for this podcast for kind of inspiring me to reach out, because turns out they did want me. They wanted my skills. They were very interested in that. So that is something that I'm doing recently in my community.
I would love to get into more of the specifics. You know, you told us about this a while ago, about how when you got in the door, all of a sudden they were like, oh my God, you know, you were expecting them to say, oh, well, you know, you don't have the medical background, whatever. But they were like, oh my God, somebody who knows how to write a good email. You know, things like that, I think we don't always think about when we are so quick to jump into that imposter zone space, right? So can you talk a little bit more about that experience of like coming in and realizing, okay, maybe there is value I can add here?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I work in nonprofit education full time, and it's in training and development. And you know, I reached out. I said, I have lived experience, but that's kind of all I can offer. And here's what I do. And they said, oh, you can offer a lot more than that, and a lot more from the training space. And interestingly, you know, this board in particular didn't have a lot of people with lived experience, right? And so, again, putting that sort of pressure on, well, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a doctor, that's not what they needed, right? They need diversity in so many different ways. And I serve on other boards as well, and the diversity could be, you know, in age, it could be in gender, it could be in so many different things, right? But boards are looking for people who are not exactly like everyone else who serves on that board. So it was really kind of eye-opening and inspiring to be able to help them out.
I think what you said about having imposter syndrome resonates with so many people here. And I'm wondering, so when you were applying to be on the board, how did you overcome that imposter syndrome to like get your foot in the door?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was definitely a little nerve-wracking, right, to just sort of be vulnerable and reach out and say, like, hey, I'm just passionate about this. But I think that's all that they needed to hear, right? Like, you have such an interest in this area, and this, you know, is important to you. And this organization is so passionate about New Hampshire specifically, and really supporting, you know, perinatal mental health across the state of New Hampshire. And so someone reaching out saying, this matters to me, this is really important to me. As vulnerable as it felt to reach out, I sent an email, right? And the next thing you know, here I am, and I feel like I'm making an impact, and it matters a lot to me personally.
I am so delighted by this story. I think it's so awesome, and it's such a good reminder to all of us that we never know what we could bring to the table, and that passion alone a lot of times is enough to bring real, tangible, real-world value. So I guess my parting question for you would be, what advice do you have for people who are maybe in that headspace of like, I don't know what I have to offer? And then lastly, if you have anything you want to plug involving the organization or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can answer both of those. I think if you're hesitant to get involved, the best advice I can give is if you are truly passionate and interested in that area, then try to be vulnerable and let yourself just be open about why you care about that. And you will be surprised how many organizations will jump at the opportunity to have you help out and volunteer. And in terms of something to plug, the only thing really is just the organization itself. So it is an international organization, Postpartum Support International. The New Hampshire chapter in particular, we focus a lot on expanding access across the state to perinatal mental health. And that includes sort of awareness, it includes treatment, it includes prevention. And one of the ways we do that is by providing scholarships. So this year alone, we've provided 12, which we're very excited. So 12 people have been given scholarships now to be able to serve that population. And the last thing I'll share is that the Policy Center for Maternal Mental Health provides grades for each state in terms of their mental health. And New Hampshire used to be an F, but in part due to our work, we are a C- now.
Hey.
Yeah. And tomorrow, the report card comes out for the next year. So we will find out if we've made any more progress there.
Keep us updated.
I will. And thanks for the opportunity, both of you, for being able to
Oh
come
my
and share a
gosh.
bit about this.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
coming
it.
up, Emma. We appreciate it. Round of applause for Emma, guys. Thank you.
All right, next we have Clifton West from Black Lives Matter New Hampshire.
Woo, woo, woo. Clifton. It's always the most pressure when you're walking up there and you're like, don't trip. Everyone's watching.
I know.
Don't
Sorry, that
trip,
felt like a
don't
long
fall,
So
drink too
Clifton-
much.
Oh gosh.
It's fine. This might be the most unserious interview of the night.
Yeah, good.
I don't know. We're gonna get really serious now.
Oh,
I think it's going to get sillier, to be honest with you, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing to connect with the community?
a lot.
Yeah. It seems, so first, I want to ask you: is it your full time? Like, are you doing this full time?
No, so
Oh my gosh.
so I work as a software developer for Lincoln Financial up here in Dover. I do that full time. Been doing that for like 9-10 years at this point. So yeah, the work that I do with BM, I started like back in 2020. Yeah, 2020. That's how you say that. And pretty much I was just trying, after the whole thing with George Floyd and all that stuff, we just had the anniversary of his death the other day. I was just trying to find my community and how I can help and support and, you know, just bring awareness to the situation, right? So pretty much I think I started doing protests in my local town, which is Barrington, which is an odd place for me to live in. But yeah, so I started doing that protest, those weekly protests or whatever, just kind of ballooned up to me connecting with a few other people over Instagram, and somehow that just ballooned to BLM Seacoast, us founding that organization. And to kind of just lead us to where we are now, that kind of just blossomed to BLM New Hampshire, just joining the other organizations, the other BLM organizations in the state. So that's kind of my connection to the community. And I guess with BLM Seacoast, I was co-founder, executive director through that whole journey, and I got to meet a lot of great people, got to do a lot of great things to help the community, connect people. Mutual aid has always been the basis of our organization. Even where we started, we gave away like close to half of what we raised, just to people in need of whatever, right? Money to pay for the kids' camp, or to buy diapers, or to get their car out the freaking toll line over there. Homeless people that just needs a little bit of money to get some food, right? So mutual aid has always been the basis of our organization. We give away scholarships to the youth, and that just kind of always been a part of the organization. So today, that's still a big part of the organization, even though the organization has blossomed into staff members, one of which I'm not. I'm still a contractor, but that's fine. But my new position in BM New Hampshire is CFO, so I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the
pressure.
organization.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's
So, yeah, thank you. We started with $0, and now we running a $500,000 budget.
It's amazing. I mean, what you guys have built is really incredible in such a short amount of time. Like you said, you guys really only kicked off around 2020, and I'm curious to hear about your path in that journey as somebody who was in the room at the beginning and was really like kicked this whole thing off to now seeing how much work BLM does. Like you said, there's so many programs going on. You guys have a new space in this building. Talk a little bit about your own role and kind of finding your path in BLM as an organization.
It's interesting because I never saw myself leading an organization. I guess I always saw myself being like more behind the scenes of everything, which I'm now, but that just due to staffing and whatnot. So at first being like the front of the organization and being the person to talk to WMUR, to talk to Seacoast Online, to talk to Concord, Mario, to meet everyone who was the executive director of New Hampshire Youth Movement and 350 and meeting people like Jen, right? Who just, oh, okay, fine, whatever, I won't mention you. Cut out. It's okay. And just doing all that, meeting and trying to maintain momentum during a time where it was, 2020 feels like a long time ago, but it was just such a turbulent time with COVID, with the political situation, with obviously Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, and people trying to take advantage of that movement, right? So it was just this very turbulent time, and trying to not only lead this brand new organization, but somehow maintain some semblance of my mental health doing it. Yeah. And that was very challenging. I feel like I didn't really gain that balance until probably I feel like I look back at, so I was like one of the Young Progressives of the Year for the New Hampshire Young Democrats. I think 2022, February 2022. But I look back at that moment, I was like, you was reaching this very high professional moment while you was at your lowest mentally wise. Yeah. So I don't think I found a balance, I think probably 2023, where I was like, actually probably fourth, my fourth child got born, Amaya, and I was like, I need to like chill out a little bit. Yeah. Because I need to raise my children a little bit, just a little bit.
Do you have any advice on that front, since you're, in terms of, I think a lot of us are parents, a lot of us have young kids. I left a very unhappy 3-year-old in the bathtub tonight. She's with her dad, she's fine. But she did not want me to leave. Do you have, now looking in the rear view a little bit at that, do you have any advice for folks who are trying to find the balance now of like, this stuff requires me being out of the house and doing stuff. Like, how did you kind of get to a place that you feel good about?
You don't have to do everything.
I need you to say that 10 times.
That's okay. I mean, people say that, and people still do everything, but it's okay to not do everything. Yeah. It's other people there to pick up the, I won't even call it slack, it's other people there to do the work. You don't have to be everywhere. You can be like, this weekend, I'm gonna take a weekend off. I'm gonna spend time with whatever, my partner, my kids, whoever that is. Mm-hmm. Go to the woods. There's plenty of woods in New Hampshire. Yeah. And just try to find that balance. Like, find a lot of my balance comes with sports. I'm a sports guy, but in 2020, 2021, 2022, I wasn't watching sports. I was so focused on the objective. And now okay, but it's not fulfilling my soul, right? So I had to start getting back into things that, I really care about. That's fulfilling for me. And that's okay. Just You don't have to do every nonprofit board.
Pick one or two. That's enough. That's
just
plenty.
pick one or two that you really care about. They will survive, I promise. They don't need you though. If they need you, they will call you. It's okay.
So aside from not doing everything and don't feel like you have to be a part of every organization, if somebody, right now is listening and they haven't found the way to get in the door yet for connecting with their community, what would you tell them to do? How would they find, their niche?
That's interesting. I'm trying to think back when.
Because you had a journey with yours from 2020 to now. I mean, that's a huge arc.
It's a huge arc. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. It's just really like, I guess for me, it was connecting over Instagram. Like we have the power of social media, something that our ancestors didn't have. So being able to search on Google this topic, and now you get to see on Google organizations that are representing that topic. Doing the same on Instagram and Facebook, looking at I know a lot of us hate Facebook. I hate Facebook, but a lot of organizations post events on Facebook, right? And seeing just clicking the tab that goes, what's events are happening this month? Oh, 350 New Hampshire's having an event this month. That's pretty cool. So I think definitely for my generation, it's Instagram, TikTok. You're on TikTok.
We love TikTok. We hate it, but we love to hate it.
So it's just baby steps like that, just following, just trying to get tapped in onto what's happening. And then from what's happening, you get to tap into who's doing what. Then you can go on their website, follow the email list. We have an email list that we try to consistently post onto. I know a bunch of organizations have the same thing, so it's just really utilizing the tools that we have today.
It is a great way to get a sense of a group of people, too, before you jump in. You can kind of be like, oh, they look like they have fun. Like, that looks like a good time. I might want to get involved in that group.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I want you to plug anything that you guys have going on. How can people get involved? If this is the first people are hearing about BLM New Hampshire, how can they support? What should they be looking out for?
Follow us on every platform you can think of. But Instagram, BMNH_. Join our email list, bmnh.org. And I mean, we have a lot of things coming up. We have a youth retreat coming up. We have strategic planning coming up. We have our gala coming up in October. And I guess something new that just kind of happened that I've been working on, because I guess my ADHD just allows me to work on 2,000 million things at once.
I wish I had that kind. I do not.
So I guess a side project that I've been working on is a production studio in our new office upstairs. So we have a beautiful mural that is amazing, that if you haven't seen it, we posted about it on our social media, but definitely come check it out at the office. But it was important to me, I think, to have a space that we can tell our stories. Because a big part of our culture is storytelling, and telling our stories and being able to pass down information, being able to pass down wisdom to the next generation. And I kind of feel like we kind of lost that a little bit, not because we don't have the people, because we don't have the platforms to do so. And we don't have the recordings, all that stuff to share all that wisdom down. So one thing that I've been embarking on is creating like, I guess, some semblance of a production studio. But just multi-camera lights, speakers, the whole production suite, and I think it's important for us to own it, so we can always keep it. We don't have to lease it. We don't have to worry about any of the contractors. And it's important for us to have it in-house, that we can do it anytime that we need to do an interview with like the mural unveiling, right? With the young Lord Leo, right? To have this person who is 70 plus, who did so much in her life, come talk to us. Like, that is wisdom that we need to pass down. So to do that, to tell our stories through podcasts, to allow other organizations to come in and tell their stories, to give them that space. So that's been a journey that I've been embarking on.
A lot of troubleshooting, I imagine.
A crap ton. It's like, do we have this wire to go to that? No? Ah, God.
You got to go back to B&H.
Someone go to Target.
Clifton,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. It's so much. Make sure you're following BLM New Hampshire on social media. And can we give Clifton a round of applause? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Bridget Began. Bridget is a doula. And also, side note, one of the people that the first time I met her, I feel like I knew her my whole life.
Oh my God.
It was a long walk. I had to add something. But it's true.
Thanks for being here, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget. So I would love to hear about the birth work and how birth work and you are connecting to the community through that work.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was funny, when I first saw your question, I started to think about it, and I was realizing how birth work is community work in its own way, and how, I have the unique opportunity to see people during their lowest of lows, their highest of highs, and their most vulnerable. So, I'm
going to hope you hold your mic a little.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting to see that, it just started, you see patterns, and you see where loneliness creeps in. And so it was just sort of a way for me to figure out, like, where are the gaps? Where is the community? Where is the village? And trying to bridge that gap and connecting people. And, there's no need for us to be alone. Birth and postpartum was never meant to be done in isolation. And I think, unfortunately, our society has sort of made that the norm. And so trying to figure out ways to bring people together and, just connecting people depending on if they need resources or just another friend who's in a similar experience to them, or someone who has had their experience and is able to give new insight. So it's been, it's a beautiful journey. It's all the feels.
That is such a powerful way to connect. And, both of us are moms, and giving birth can be such an isolating experience, especially since we were like peak pandemic, where people couldn't really even be in the room. And so I would love to hear how you got into this work, what inspired you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I got into this work, I think it was sort of, classic peak 2020, where I was like, wow, I'm really sad. And I was working in tech and working really long hours, and it just wasn't fulfilling in the ways that it was. And, in the back of my mind, I had always wanted to be a doula. It was something I had the opportunity of knowing a postpartum and a birth doula early on in my life, and I was always like, okay, like I'm just gonna grind it out now, and when I retire, I'll become a doula. And then during 2020, I was just like, how about now? And little by little, I did different mentorships trainings, and then I did a doula training, and as my first training I did, it was just an immediate yes. It was just this, I think for myself as a woman in our society, it's really hard to find your own control and your power at times. And the more that I learned about birth and started to understand it, the more it was almost like I was getting my own control and power back by getting to learn more about the birth world and how there's so much information that is hidden or has become almost a luxury. And I think support and education is something that should be known across for all. And so it was just sort of my own little version of rebellion, I guess, was to understand birth and be able to share what I have learned with others and just being able to see the ripple effect of what that can do. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. What an incredible lifestyle change that must have been for you to go from working in tech to, which I want to sidebar on that, by the way, later, to doing this like pretty drastic lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And, we're obviously always kind of coming at it from the lens of community. What has that been like for you getting out of like the internet box and into like where you're just like probably on Zoom meetings all day with people to like, oh, I'm like in it with people in the community, having a tactile, tangible impact on their life. How has that experience been?
So healing. It is like a complete, being at your desk 60 plus hours a day, talking with majority of grumpy men, unfortunately. And now I'm face to face with people and I'm watching their families be created and I'm watching, birthing people get to find their own power and their strength and their bravery. And it was just one of those things where I had no idea. It just like continues to, amaze me. And it's, it was purpose and it was a way for me to be connected with the community in a way of just, I think that face-to-face interaction is something that, while it's great, I'm grateful that we have ways of being able to connect virtually. I think there is something that we've lost along the way of, just being able to go up to people and say hi or, just checking in on people. I think that there has been that level of disconnect. And so being able to be in my space where it's a little bit more of a one-on-one situation at times, it can be just so, it's just so healing. And just like, I'm just so grateful for it. So.
And you have a new part of your project or your work coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Yes, I definitely can. So I'm a birth doula. I work with saltwater doulas. They're based in Amesbury, and they so kindly reached out and and asked if I was interested. So I'm going to be doing childbirth education classes for Maine and a little bit at our Amesbury location. But I'm so excited about it. It was just sort of, I got trained a couple of years ago, and it was more of just a time for me to understand more about birth, like in the doula space of being able to make sure I understood the vocabulary and language, and but then as it started, got further and further along with it, I started to be like, you know what, more people need to know this. It was just sort of, there's so many little pieces where it's like if other people knew this information, it would be such a drastic change in the way, birth is sort of viewed in our society. And so it kind of became the next phase of my work where I love doing the doula work, and I think it's so important because I'm able to be like hands-on learning about how different hospitals work, how home births work. But there's a piece of education where being able to spread that information for more people to understand, prenatal, but also for postpartum. There's just so many different pieces and resources, and being able to meet other people in a class and interconnecting with them, maybe have similar due dates or, another way of just being able to connect to other people and just share information that, again, I wish was common knowledge, and unfortunately, it just isn't quite yet, but we're getting there. So.
It's such important work, and I appreciate what you're doing so much and how openly you talk about it and the emotional stuff. We could talk for an hour about this. Unfortunately, we do not have that. So where can people find you if they want to keep in touch?
Yeah, so if you want to stay in touch, I'm on Instagram. It's Birthing with Bee. It's spelled like Bumblebee, B-E-E. And that's probably the best place to find me. Otherwise, through Saltwater Doulas as well. You're always welcome to connect through there as well. But Instagram's always the quick and easiest way to get connected. So thank you both so much.
Thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Bridget, guys. Thank you so. Was this a first podcast experience? I think we've got a lot of podcast first timers tonight. This is very exciting.
Thank you, Bridget. All right, so now we have Scott.
Yeah, we're bringing Scott up. Come on up, buddy.
Now, Scott, we literally pulled to come on maybe 20 minutes ago or an hour ago. So this is just amazing and brave and wonderful.
Hello.
We're so happy to have you here. Scott's been at a lot of our live shows, and we're really excited to have you here because one of the last times you came to a show, you were telling us, oh, I've actually made a pretty big change. So I would love to hear more about where kind of this journey has taken you over the last several months.
For sure, and my heart is racing, so I'll...
You're doing great.
We're going to do one more round of applause for Scott, guys, because he needs it. Yay!
And shout out to you guys, because one of the first ways I got involved was coming here to Auspicious. I think I was by myself that night because I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to show up to something and be like, oh, sorry, friend, for dragging you to this. So I came and I listened. I was like, okay, this is cool, and I started bringing other people along. But since then, I suppose the big change you're referencing is I've been involved with 603 Equality, and I've become a board member there. It's been a very busy year for me, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around the chaos and trying to maintain my mental health through it all. But being involved has definitely been a stabilizing factor for me. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that experience. How did you get involved with 603 Equality? And I think most folks are probably familiar, but in case they're not, can you give us a little bit of backstory on who 603 Equality is?
Yes, I'll start with that. 603 Equality, as far as I'm aware, is the only type of, and I'm so new to the nonprofit world, so I don't know all the lingo, but there's nonprofits, and then there's nonprofits that can lobby. And as far as I'm aware, 603 Equality is the only LGBTQ-focused lobbying nonprofit in New Hampshire. So they are the ones, and this is why I chose to work with them. I was looking for a way to actually be involved with the legislative process with the anti-trans proposed legislation, of which there was a lot this year. It's been increasing year after year. And 603 Equality is hey, today is the day to go on and voice your opinion on this specific bill, and this is exactly how you do it. And if you're feeling brave, you can come to the court, you can come to the State House on this date at this time, and this is how you sign up to speak. And don't forget to say your name and where you're from, and things like that. So they made it really easy, and that was exactly what I was looking to do, was to show up as a transgender New Hampshireite myself and say, I definitely have the privilege of walking around, and people don't know anything about me. I don't stick out, I think, in any particular way. And I think that that's a privilege that I have, that I felt kind of, I don't know, gave me some sort of responsibility to speak out in a space like a legislative committee that can be really, really intimidating. Yeah. And I've even feeling safe and secure in that space, it's been really hard. So that's what 603 Equality is. They do a lot of other things as well. They host storytelling sessions and self-defense de-escalation trainings as well. But they're just a really cool group, and I'm so happy to have gotten involved with them. Yeah.
How did you get into the board position? Talk a little bit about that process. Were you volunteering, or?
I had so I guess I found them, I think, through like an email I'd probably signed up on. And I finally, like, someone was, I mean, the reason I came here was I was looking for someone to tell me what to do because I wanted to do something. And that worked. And so I got this email saying, like, take action today by doing this. And I'm lucky enough also to be able to just kind of casually take time off work. And I have my own vehicle. I can get up to Concord. There are so many reasons where I was like, I have no excuse not to do this. And I went and I spoke at a hearing for a bill, which I wonder if many people in this room have heard about, but it was a bill proposed to remove the phrase gender identity from every single kind of civil rights law in New Hampshire. So you can be protected based on your race, your sexual orientation, your ethnicity, but not because of your gender identity in New Hampshire anymore. And I sat in that hearing and I listened to one of our state's legislature. I think it was a representative. So for the House of Representatives, explain why I don't deserve to be protected for who I am. And I also listened to quite a few other residents of this state listen to why I shouldn't be protected for who I am. And I was having a very, very hard time. But while I was sitting there listening, Amy Terravecchia, who's the executive director of 603 Equality, had gone up and she'd spoken. And so I was like, all right, she's a friendly, and I know that I recognize that name from the emails. And afterwards, I thanked her for being there, and I just let her know I was having a hard time. And she kind of talked me off the edge of whatever I was feeling that day. And I was like, I'm just feeling so helpless. I don't know what else to do. And she's like, we're looking for board members.
She was ready.
And I still call her out on that. But she really said that. And my gut reaction was like, absolutely, like, no, I don't have time for that. I don't know anything about that. I don't, like, no was just the gut reaction. But I don't know. I kept doing things with that group. And I realized that me just wanting to be there and wanting to be involved and being able to commit to saying, yeah, I'll be there, and then actually showing up was what they needed. And we have a variety of board members. Some are focused on that storytelling aspect. Some are organizing those de-escalation trainings. There are people like me who are more interested in the legislative side. But we have everyone kind of in every aspect. And so there is a place for me there. And I'm learning a lot. There's a lot for me to learn, but I'm doing it.
You are doing it, and you're doing such an incredible job. My question is, so you could say this to anybody listening, but also to yourself a year ago. How would you tell yourself to really tap into that bravery and do something that you hadn't done before? You said you came for somebody to tell you what to do, and now you're telling other folks like how you're doing it. So what would you say to the old you who hadn't started yet?
And I might say I'm a little ashamed of this, is that nothing was really affecting me personally yet. And I was busy, with other things. I was kind of underwater at my job, and I was having family stresses and money stresses and this, that, and the other thing. And I was aware of a lot of things that were going on, but on the flip side, it wasn't time for me yet, I think. Yeah. And I very much felt this year, like this is when I need to dive in and when I have the capacity to give it my all. But a year ago, I had my radar open. When things made me uncomfortable, I wasn't looking away. So when I have decided to step in, I did have the background knowledge. I knew how all these issues were already interconnected. Like, I didn't walk in being like, I care about trans rights, and trans rights are the only thing I care about. I care about trans rights, and this is where I think I can make the most positive impact, being aware of how interconnected this issue is with or I think intersectionality, I think is the word for that, how it's all connected. And I wish one of the hardest things for getting involved this year, though, was being unfamiliar with all these different groups. I've even heard them today, like we've been talking about 350, we've been talking about 603 Equality has been mentioned. I wish I could remember the other ones that were mentioned, but a lot of these names are starting to sound really familiar in a way that they weren't when I started my journey, and I was feeling very overwhelmed. And so I wish I had kind of known who the players were before I was starting to look for a team to join, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say one thing about something you said that stuck with me, and then I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about what 603 Equality needs and how people can support them. But I just wanted to, you're talking about your experience testifying, and I think this is something probably a lot of us in this room have thought a lot about as we see these videos come up on my social media feed of people who are in the trans community having to testify in the legislature in a room full of people who are actively trying to harm them. And it's, I wish I saw more allies in that space. And so I would like to just ask everybody that next time you see, sign up for 603 Equality's mailing list, find out about when these hearings are happening. If you have any flexibility in your schedule, and I know it's not easy, but can make it there, because we're seeing so many of these same faces having to go up there again and again, and it's just, it's not a friendly room, and that takes a lot of bravery. So aside from signing up for the email, showing up at the State House, is there any other ways people can support the work that 603 Equality is doing?
Definitely. And a lot of the learning I've done is learning how the New Hampshire legislature works. And it's the barrier to entry of even gaining the introductory knowledge is so difficult, which I will say Amy, our executive director, has really laid it out well on our website, 603equality.org, I believe, not .com. And so this year, the legislative voting session season is resolved. So all of the proposed bills that were proposed last fall have gone through their committees and been voted on, or at least they're wrapping up now. All the ones that, I'm speaking in these extremes. I don't know. They're almost all wrapped up. And a lot of the discriminatory bills that we were tracking have died. We succeeded, yes. And that was from the people's voices in a variety of ways, testifying online, testifying in person, friendly faces in the legislature. We have a lot of powerful people on our side as well that are making their voices heard. But there is at least one bill that I checked on our current actions tab on the website that is going to Governor Ayotte's desk, a discriminatory bathroom bill. So things that would say that I, Scott, need to use the women's restroom on penalty of criminal charges, believe it or not. And the ask that we have for everyone in New Hampshire is to call Governor Ayotte, and that sounds really weird, but you can call your governor and say, I don't want you to sign this bill into law. You can email her, send a piece of mail. Every piece of mail that she receives gets counted. So reach out and be super obnoxious. You don't have to just reach out once. You can reach out every day. Get your friends involved. She has historically vetoed, I believe, 2 similar bills in the past, but times have changed, and I do not trust that her previous actions are a good implication of her future actions. And it's really terrifying because really awful legislation has passed in Kansas and in Idaho. In this country, trans folk are under attack, and New Hampshire is definitely the scariest state in New England right now, which is making me feel extra stubborn, though, not going anywhere. But we're asking people to reach out, to ask her to veto those. Keep your friends informed. Reach out to your transgender and gender nonconforming friends, because they are for sure following this stuff and very worried about it. And also, 603 Equality needs some money, so we are, if you're interested in able to donate, not everyone's able to donate, but if you do have some money to spare, that would be a huge help. We're doing legislative work, but we're also doing work with the community, telling stories and helping people protect themselves and feel confident walking around in a very unsafe state and country right now.
Thank you for your work, Scott, and thank you for being here and sharing all of this with us. I think we all took a lot from this, and I really appreciate you coming up here.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me strong arm
Thank you,
you.
Scott. Oh, great. All right, so next we have Sinahan.
Woohoo!
I like that I'm just one name, like
know.
Beyonce.
We didn't have your last name. Oh, we did have it on here. Kerman.
That's me.
How's it going?
It's going. Thanks for having me.
Sinahan, I'm so excited to see you up here. I would love to hear about how you are connecting with the community. You've been posting it online, and I feel like when I've seen the videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want everybody to see this. So can you tell everyone about it?
Sure. Well, I volunteer in like 17 different capacities, but I'm here to tell you all how I got involved with my local food pantry last year. Do you guys all remember when we found out that SNAP benefits were getting cut? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That same day, I got a $50 like spiff from work, little bonus for a little contest that they had. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take that $50, I'll match it with $50 of my own money and donate it. And I looked online and realized my food pantry is not very digital. So I ended up picking up the phone, I gave them a phone call and I said, hey, how do I give you guys this $100? And the woman I spoke to said, actually, let me give you a list. There's a couple things, I don't have time to pick them up, but we need to, restock a few items. So she gave me a list. I ended up going out and buying everything on the list in multiple quantities, and I spent like $150. Don't tell my husband. That's a joke. I managed the money. Anyway, jokes aside, I did a little shopping for the pantry, and when I dropped everything off, I noticed that everybody volunteering was like 8,000 years old. I mean that respectfully. So I said, how else can I help? Like, I'm a young, able-bodied human. What can I do for you? And she said, how big is your car? So I drive a Subaru Outback, and I now, every Friday, spend 2 hours. It's 2 hours a week. That's it. I'm looking at you all right now. 2 hours a week. That's it. I drive to my local Hannaford. I pick up donations. I fill my car completely, and I bring them to my food pantry.
That's all it takes sometimes.
2 hours.
I think the regularity, it's like built into your work schedule. You know what you're doing. Is there anything that you wish people knew about this? I think this is something that you've taken up as a bit of a personal crusade, which I think is so important because it's true. So many of these food pantries in all of our towns, any of us who's ever done a shift knows most of this work is being done by people who have been doing this for many, 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 many years and need some help. It's our turn to step up. What has your experience been in that space, and do you think we need more people like us to get involved?
We absolutely need more people. And like I said, I volunteer in a couple of different areas, but one of the things I've noticed, especially over the past year, I mean, we've heard it even tonight, like, I want someone to tell me what to do. I love you guys, but nobody's gonna tell you what to do because we're all busy doing the stuff. So, like, if there's something that you care about, I have a big girl crush on Emma, who was up here earlier, and she talked about how, she struggled with postpartum depression and she wanted to do something to give back related to that experience. Spend 5 minutes with yourself and your thoughts and think about, like, what is the thing that drives me? What is the thing that you care about? And like, go Google that thing. There's probably an organization really close to you that's doing the work and needs help, and you get sucked in really quick. And it can be 2 hours a week. Is that it?
I feel like no. Like, make that a clip right now.
Yeah. So trying to get more people involved too. We're all on social media. This is where you can kind of branch out and think about maybe the creative skills that you have. Because my pantry gals found out that I've been doing social media stuff, they were like, hey, could you make a video for us so that we could get more young volunteers? And I was like, hell yeah. So if you don't already follow me on TikTok, you can find me on TikTok. But I ended up making a quick little, like, here's what it's like to go pick up food pantry donations. And we got 5 new people signing up to help. Yeah.
From one video?
Yeah. Hopefully they all follow through. Don't sign up for something if you're not going to follow through. That's also a pet peeve of mine for another day.
Any other pet peeves that you want to share? There's so many other things I want to dig into, but we're getting towards the end of the night, so I'm going to unfortunately bypass that, but we're going to have you back on another time.
Thank you.
Any other pet peeves you want to share with the crowd for the, before the evening? Or any last, anything else you want people to do? I feel like you are such a great example. Definitely follow Sinahan on TikTok. She's constantly encouraging everyone to be better, as she should. So any last words you want to share with the crowd?
I mean, it's that pet peeve. It's that like waiting for someone to tap you in. Everybody is too busy, and you know what you're good at. Just go do it. And if you're not good at stuff but you want to try it, like who cares, guys? One life. Just go live it. Go help someone.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Mic drop.
She's made for social media, guys. She
Thanks,
gets on message.
Sinahan. All right, next we have Bridget Murphy.
Bridget. We got a Bridget and a Bridget tonight.
I was so confused when you said my name wrong a few minutes ago. And I was like,
your
it's
last
a different
name?
one.
Should have warned you.
Bridget, I feel like you do so much, and so I'm so excited to hear what you share with everyone for your way that you're connecting.
That's so funny because I feel like I'm never doing anything. So thank you for saying that. It's actually so funny that you guys have been talking about like your first one quick thing because I chickened out of coming to that one. I was too scared and intimidated, so I didn't go. I bailed at the last minute, and less than a year later, I am running my own event series and hanging out with all of you fine people. So even if you're scared, show up anyway. We want to have you. We would love to have you here, and you're needed in this space. You can do great things.
I love it.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that event series?
Yes, I would love to. It's called Liberty at the Library, and basically what happened was there were a lot of events that I wanted to get to or that I heard other people talking about wanting to go to, but all of my friends are parents, and oftentimes you cannot bring your small young children to political events or like to a brewery on a Tuesday night. It's a little bit frowned upon to bring your toddler here. So I wanted to really combine like an opportunity for working class families to have an activity to do with their kids, and also for them to have the opportunity to meet with political candidates that are like actually supporting working class families, not just like profiting off of us. And so I just started calling libraries and asking candidates and inviting families, and it's working out. I'm doing my 3rd one in just a few days. So
Congratulations. That is so huge. I feel like one thing that we hear often when we're having these events is like, when are you going to do it for parents who have kids? And you are checking that box.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying. I'm just one person. I'm just doing like one event a month, but I'm trying to really do what I can with it. And the response has been amazing. It's like very, very sweet to hear from parents and from libraries that this is something that people are really looking for.
Can you give a little plug? You've got an event coming up soon, and if anybody's here, whether they have a child or not, to be clear, is everybody welcome?
That's true. We do not like card you with a child when you come in. So you can come child or no child. We would love to have you either way. My next event is this Saturday, May 30th at 10 a.m. in Northampton. Heath Howard for CD1 is my guest candidate this month. But basically what the deal is I invite an actual progressive, actual grassroots candidate, and they come and they read a story to the kids. I have a background in early childhood education, so I pull the kids aside, we do a craft, we do an activity. I start killing time with like bubbles and paper airplanes and whatever the hell I can do by the end of it. And parents have the opportunity to do like a very casual Q&A and ask somebody running in their area what they're doing that is gonna make an actual difference in our lives and decide for themselves what they wanna do about that.
It's pretty amazing to see people get to interact sometimes with these candidates in like a small group setting too, because you really do get a sense of like who's bullshitting you and who's not when you're like in that kind of a small environment. How do you pick candidates? What's your criteria?
So I actually just started a questionnaire recently, this week. So I have actual qualifications now. Before that, it was just the candidates that I personally am supporting, and I already know their policies and already know their funding and how desperately they need help. But now I'm branching out a little bit more and asking candidates about where their funding comes from, how much funding they have, and what their policies are that are going to support an average Granite State working class family like mine.
Where can people keep up with you, Bridget, so they can find out about your future events? And join us on Saturday. I'll be this Saturday, right?
Yes,
I'll be
Saturday.
there. It's on my calendar.
Just show up as long as it's on the calendar. That's perfect. And I am at Hey New Hampshire on Instagram and TikTok, and that's it. I'm afraid of everywhere else.
Absolutely. I hear that. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
up
guys
and
so
everything
much.
you're doing. Thank you. Woo! One for Bridget. All right, guys. We went a little bit long. We got one more. I'm going to pull up our final guest in a second. We went a little long tonight, but I appreciate you guys hanging in. It was so great to hear from all these different voices. I'm feeling so energized after these conversations. I do just want to say these guys close at 9, so we'll hang out for a little bit, but we'll probably move it outside pretty quickly. If you want to chit chat, I encourage everyone to mingle, but we just want to let these guys close up and go home as well. So make sure you close your tabs and tip them. Our last guest is coming up with one last call to action. Our friend Aria Shams, come on up.
Thank you.
People were like, you're giving Aria 5 minutes and it's strict. I was like, Aria doesn't realize that he's about to get 2 minutes.
I thought this was karaoke, honestly. But yeah, all right.
Oh, what song are we doing tonight?
You tell me. I'm just all surprises. Hello.
How fast can you talk?
First of all, round of applause for these two ladies who are so inspiring. So inspiring. The first time I just want to say, that first day that you chickened out on, I came in. First time, it's true, that was a super spreader.
Oh, you brought that up.
But no, it was the first time it was a year ago, crossing paths with everyone, and where we've come in that year is just beyond inspiring. So I thank you guys for providing the forum for all of us to meet, and it's a beautiful thing you guys are doing. So
It's pandering, but I'll take it.
ask me easy questions, please.
So let's talk about, what I want to talk about today is let's talk about Nottingham. For those who are not aware, why is Nottingham all of our Instagram feeds this week?
Nottingham is on our feeds this week because tomorrow there will be a planning board meeting in the city of Nottingham, in the town of Nottingham, and it will be because a businessman named Tom Moulton wants to buy 100 acres off the town, and I think 40 to 50 of those acres he wants to turn into a data center. What, you guys don't like data centers? What, are you guys crazy? No, it's terrible. And one beautiful thing that's kind of come out of it after just 48 hours of it being in the news, this was 3 days after. I don't know if you guys remember SB 439. It was going through the State House. It was going to make it illegal for towns to put in any regulations for data centers uniquely. So data centers would have the same regulations as a Dunkin' Donuts in your town. That's what the bill was. And luckily it got voted down, and 3 days later, the news came out that Tom Moulton was gonna see what the appetite of the town was for a data center. So that's why it's all over the news right now.
So what you're saying is we have to show them what the appetite is for a data center, right?
Absolutely.
How do we show them what the appetite is?
So I'm gonna be there tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. in Nottingham. I believe it's 245, Stage Road, thank you so much. Yeah, so it's 245 Stage Road in Nottingham. It was moved there because of the outcry. There's gonna be a lot of people there. I wanna remind all of you guys that no matter what happens at that planning board, if it's unanimously voted down and say the town says no, they can still, there's no law that stops the data center from moving there. So what does showing tone mean? It means before the contract is even signed, before the companies are hired. This is in concept phase right now. So before the shovels hit the dirt, you let the data center know how difficult this is gonna be to come into this town, right from day one. I have people telling me, listen, there's not much you can do at the planning board. I'm not going there for the planning board. I'm going there to tell the data center how I feel from the very beginning, from step one. And I think that's the most important thing because this isn't gonna be the only data center that tries to come here. to show that energy right away, right from the beginning, you're going to send that message that New Hampshire is not a place for data centers. Don't even try to come out here. And that's kind of the energy I'm trying to get rallying around here. So
I think you're definitely rallying people. And so say there's hypothetically somebody listening who's like, well, what's so bad about a data center? How would you summarize the problems that would come with that?
So if you really want to watch a real life horror movie, go look at current data centers that are already built in towns and states, and go see. I think just recently AOC went into Congress with a cup of brown water. It's like Flint all over again. And I know right-wingers are joking around about taking data centers to Flint. It's so insane. So what they're realizing is that it's not just water, right? Water is the big thing that they talk about. They talk 5 million gallons of water a day, up to that. That's what you're talking about. In New Hampshire, already a drought, right? But it's causing cancer. It's literally poisoning the ground. And it's doing things that the towns aren't even aware of. There are reports coming out right now that there are data centers that are taking much more water than they originally thought. The science and the understanding behind these data centers is still very basic. It's very basic for the public. It's meant to be that way. That's why it's moving so fast at rocket speed. That's why you're seeing them built up. And I think we need to start, as a society, having conversations about what these data centers are for exactly, right? Which I don't want to fearmonger, but it is a bit of fearmongering. But these are surveillance sites. This is becoming a surveillance country. And that's what we need these data centers for, because ultimately we want to surveil the whole country. We have flock cameras everywhere. Those things need data centers to continue working. So.
Absolutely. If you're not familiar with what all of this means, I definitely encourage you to do a little bit of digging, because there's a lot there. I think to your point about showing strength, it reminds me of what a lot of folks in this room did a lot of work pushing back against the Merrimack ICE facility. And I think that was a really good example of a lot of people showing up and saying, fuck no, not in my backyard, right? Like, I'm taking that back. You're not doing that here. And I think we can send a huge message by showing up in force tomorrow. That's why the two of us will be there. I know Aria will be there. I encourage as many folks as possible to come out, physically show force. If you, not physically, no, don't sue me. Don't clip that. It's the end of the night, I'm done. But show up if you can. If you can't be there in person, there is a petition. Please sign the petition. It's at my link in bio on any of my social media if you're following me there. If not, just Google it, like Nottingham Change Petition. Sign in, post about it. Like we've been talking about, even just a little social media post can go a long way in getting traction on this stuff. So, lastly, do you want to just let everyone know where to follow you, and maybe like your new social media account and why you created one? Not about you getting shadow banned, about the exciting stuff.
The exciting one.
The good thing.
So you guys can find me everywhere on the internet, Aria for New Hampshire, the number 4. A week ago, I decided to run for state rep. I am running for a seat in Nashua that is actually being vacated by a badass of a rep, Laura Tulursky. She is running for state senator. So I have some big shoes to fill. I'm very proud to be taking her seat. She's a very, very cool, very
You're running for her seat.
Yeah,
Relax.
you know it.
That's confidence.
Yeah, if I lose this seat, launch me into the sun. But I had to create a second account on TikTok. It's Aria for New Hampshire with just an FOR, because as soon as I launched on TikTok, TikTok was not happy about my candidacy. For some reason, I'm not hitting the algorithm anymore. So, but one thing you'll notice about me, and one thing I want to tell everyone, is that I'm a fighter. That's it. I am a palm tree in the wind. I am a shield. I am here to fight for the people that can't fight. I'm here to match energy with the fascists that are currently in the State House. These are fascists. Don't be afraid. These are carpetbaggers who came from out of state to the state that I love. I grew up here. I grew up in a small town called Pelham, one of the most conservative towns in New Hampshire. I grew up in that town, and I'm proud to be from that town. I'm proud of the people I grew up with. These people are not the people I grew up with, okay? This place has a really beautiful purple streak about it. It's stubborn, I get it. But these are not New Hampshire people. These are people who are trying to come here, gut the state, and then make it a billionaire's wonderland. And we're not going to do that here. And I'm sick. I am sick of letting them bully New Hampshire residents. That's why I'm running. I want people to know they have a fighter that is willing to meet that energy inside the State House, not just on the internet, which is what I've been doing for most of my life. So.
Guys, make sure you follow Arya. This is going to be one hell of a fucking political campaign. I'm very excited. And run with him.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for being
Aria.
here, Arya. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for coming out on a Tuesday. I know it's Tuesday, right? Yeah.
It's always Tuesday. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you guys so much. We're going to call it for the night, and we'll chat with you all outside. So thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Thank you for watching on the internet.
Thank you.